Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today I am taking more of your questions in another segment of Ask Judy. If you're enjoying these, please do hit like and subscribe. A question here from Scott. Can you speak about Ivan Dixon as a director? I adored Ivan Dixon. He was just such a wonderful director, a wonderful man. He directed, I made some notes so I could remember. He directed 7 episodes in season 3 and 4. And before he came to work on the show, I had watched Hogan's Heroes. I was a big fan. So when I heard he was coming, I was really excited because I was kind of geeking out about, oh, wow, it's Ivan Dixon. So that was kind of fun. And I found him to be very intelligent, he had a good sense of humor. He was easygoing, but he had a strong presence that I really admired, and he had a sort of sophistication about him, this aura of just classiness. I found him just to be a well-spoken and gently behaved individual. In terms of, I looked up a bit more of his background. He worked multiple times with Sidney Poitier and evidently was lifelong friends with him. They did both film and I think possibly even stage together. Not positive about that. And that despite the light-hearted nature of the character that he played on Hogan's Heroes, he really evidently felt very strongly about not playing really stereotypical roles, that he did a lot of racially relevant work in his career, including things that he directed. He was very active in the civil rights movement, and according to his bio, he also received 4 NAACP Image Awards. I thought it was interesting that he also directed an episode of Mod Squad, which originally aired opposite the Waltons. So he was working for our competition there for a bit. He also directed a film called Trouble Man.
Trouble is here.
He wanted to direct, and he had to sort of prove that he could direct in order to be given opportunities to direct the things he wanted to direct, particularly some passion projects of his own. And I was watching a little clip of an interview with him, and there was some clips from Trouble Man, but all of a sudden Ralph Waite appeared on the screen, and Ralph Waite evidently was, one of the actors in this film, and it was done right around the time of our first season, so I'm guessing he did it before he started doing the Waltons, because once we got into production, I don't know that he would have had time, so we kind of went in production probably around May or June, so he probably did it earlier that year, I'm guessing. Anyway, Ralph was one of the characters that was shot at the end, so it was like I'm watching the clip and going, oh my goodness, they just shot, they shot my dad.
Yeah.
This is Pete Cockrell. I want to talk to Chalky.
This is T. Chalky's dead. Now I'm coming to get your honky ass.
But I got the feeling that he may not have been playing a very nice character. And evidently, John Crawford, who played F. Bridges, was also in that film. So just more of the connections between the Waltons and the work that was done by actors, directors, writers, and stuff on other shows, and how our paths crossed in various different ways. Scott also asked, he said, I liked when Olivia had more of a story than dinner, coffee, and sending kids off to school. It was always nice seeing another side of her. I did notice in these episodes, she seems to branch out, then just drops whatever it is. There's the painting, participating in the choir, and when the woman who owns the dress shop wants to hire her on. She goes back to painting class, but in the other 2, she just doesn't go back. I always felt that was out of character, and how did they tell the kids to handle something like this? I think because our show was from an era where each episode was sort of a self-contained story. We didn't do
serialized stories where one just flowed into the next like many shows are today. There were arcs for characters, for instance, when Mary Ellen was pregnant, of course, or when John Boy went to school or started his printing press. But some stories and some characters sort of appeared, and there might be some mention of them in the final narration, but that wasn't exactly what ended up happening. For instance, they said we never saw A.J. Covington again at the end of The Literary Man, and yet the character was back in The Abdication. I understand what you're saying about Olivia. She did, of course, take up painting originally in the romance episode, but then also later on, I noticed that it was in season 6, The Battle of Drusilla's Pond, she is once more painting, and then she has her paintings and they're being framed and they're being hung for an exhibition, and they all are theoretically sold, and then she finds out later on that it was Grandpa who bought them, and at first she's very embarrassed, but then he explains how important they were to him, and that's why he bought them. So she did go back to the painting, as you mentioned. However, yes, in The Bicycle, she did join the choir, but even then she sort of decided that she was more interested in being with the family than gossiping with the other ladies. And with the dress shop, I think, again, that she had interests, but it might satisfy something for a period of time. But ultimately, the family was really pretty much where her heart was. But yes, indeed, there were certainly things, characters. My character of Mary Ellen had this very short-lived romance with Don Millman. He appeared in one episode, the romance, and then we never saw him again. So things like that definitely did happen, and I'm sure you've caught any number of them. We just went on to the next episode, and I think often we even lost track of things that had happened before. Over the course of 9 seasons and 220-something episodes, trust me, you lose track. But thank you for asking. I have a question here from EA42455. Now there is a name. Anyway, this person said, I've heard you mention Earl Hamner in previous posts. I've wondered how involved he actually was in developing stories for episodes, or was it left to a team of scriptwriters and minimal input from him? If Hamner had objections to particular episodes, scenes, or storylines, did he have much influence in making changes? Was he usually on set when episodes were filmed, or did he just make an occasional appearance? Also, did the cast and crew know him personally and maybe offer suggestions to him how the character should play a scene, or maybe even evolve throughout the series? Earl was around for the entire length of the series. He was always up in the production office, which was also on the studio lot. He came down to the set regularly, maybe not every day, but most days we saw him on set. We all knew him well. The crew, the cast. He was wonderful, lovely, lovely man. Funny, gentle, kind, really cared about the show. So he was a story editor, and he was then an executive producer. So he was, I'm sure, very involved, although all of the storylines were not based on things that really happened in his childhood. He was very involved in the scripts. Even if he didn't write it, he would have looked it over. I'm sure he would have asked for changes on anything that he felt didn't really fit the nature of the show. So we were very lucky to have him around, and he was someone that we could talk to if we had questions about our characters or felt that something didn't really make sense. Didn't always mean it got changed, but we did have the opportunity to voice those things to him. So thank you very much for asking. And this from Elaine. I love these Ask Judy behind the scenes. Thank you. Thank you for doing this, Judy. I do have a question. Where does the writer's job end and the director's job begin? Does the writer write where the scene is to take place, or do they leave that open to the director? If the director thinks it is better to give another character a line, can he or she do that? It varies. Typically, the writer will place the location of the scene, if it's, in the kitchen or the barn or the front yard. If there is a reason for shooting purposes, weather changes, things like that, or we're really short on time, they can, on the spot or with looking at an advanced schedule, make a change on the location setting of a scene. It didn't happen that often, but it did happen occasionally. As for giving different characters lines, that happened less, and it wouldn't necessarily be the director. Sometimes it it could be, but usually that would go more up to the office as a script change. And the writers were, unless it was Earl Hamner who wrote the script or one of our story editors who wrote the script, the actual writer of the episode would not have been around during the filming. So that question would go to our story editor, or Earl Hamner or someone would come down, the question would be asked, and the adjustment could be made if it was considered that it was valid. Directors Ralph Sinensky, for instance, talking with Earl about something he felt didn't quite land well with him in the conflict episode, and he asked about a potential change in that script, and Earl did a rewrite on that script. So directors certainly had input and about things that they felt didn't fully reflect how they saw the episode or the characters, and the characters could ask for things and have it discussed at times with Earl or, the producer story editors. That's what I have for you for this segment of Ask Judy. Thank you for your questions. If you have a question, you can put them in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer them. I will see you next time for another Behind the Scenes of the Waltons or another Ask Judy. Thanks for watching.